What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Broke Creatives Podcast. We are so excited to be with you guys for part two.
Part two.
I got Nick back.
Nick, welcome back.
I have neither broke or creative, so
That's good.
I'm glad.
Oh, man.
Welcome to the podcast.
So we're going to jump back into the conversation that we were having in
I don't think we are.
part one.
I think we're going
But
on we're following a different trail, Hoss.
Yeah.
We're on our way to
So
Yosemite.
what is...
Yosemite.
What? Okay.
Oh, man.
All right. So,
Unpopular opinion. Ready?
yeah.
Growth
came up
isn't
with
for
it, so-
everyone. I came up with it.
You came up with it.
Growth-
All right, say it again.
Growth isn't for everyone.
For everyone.
What do you think?
I think it's true.
Why do you think? I think it's true because I think a lot of people aren't ready for growth,
Yeah, I mean,
or I think they want to be comfortable. They don't really care about growing.
Yeah, I think you can look at it two ways, right? You can look at it as some people don't want growth, right? Some people don't know how to handle growth, and then some companies aren't ready for growth.
Yeah.
And you'd rather be the latter than the
Yeah.
former, right? I mean, you would rather be in a place where you're not ready for it, but you have the potential to capture that growth, right? Than the person that won't be able to handle it. Because there's a lot of people, I think that's kind of a variation of what you just said, but maybe a good way to say it too is a lot of people just couldn't handle it or can't handle it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's it's you get in the room with those people that are idea people, right? I'm thinking about someone very specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they come up to you, they're like, yeah, I'm really good on the ideas, not so much the execution. Do you know who I'm talking about right now?
Yes.
We were talking to him at church. Sorry. I have like a terrible time not like getting it off my mind, or at least having someone else know what I'm talking about. But
I think all of us do.
Yeah. But like you get people that are like, oh yeah, I've got a great idea, but I don't know how to execute it. Okay.
Oh,
I mean, that's the difference between the people that are like good and great, or really that's the difference between the people that do nothing and do something, right? Because good, there's the first part, right, is your product or your idea.
Yeah.
Okay, that's easy to have the idea. Now you've got to create something that your consumer, right, wants.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit tougher, right? Your product market fit. Right? How am I getting this product to the consumer? Okay, well, once you have that, now you do these things right to kind of get there, right? The way you operate when you're starting in this startup phase, right? Those are things that don't scale.
Yeah.
Right. And Y Combinator, which is they're kind of like a venture capital firm / startup school, right? And they help founders with a lot of these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
They the main guy, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but he says, do things that don't scale in the beginning, right? Because this is a great time to kind of really hone in what your product is and who it is, right? Who's it for? There's another school of thought right now. So one of the schools of thought is lean startup, right?
Yeah.
You're just, iterating as fast as you can, right? You're trying to get to market as fast as you can, minimum viable product, right? And minimum viable product, right, is that you have the bare necessities, right? And then you can kind of featureize as you learn and as you know your user or consumer better. And then I saw an article the other day, which is kind of how I've always thought about it, is how do you know what your minimum viable product is, right? How do you know, right? Back to kind of, if you watch the last episode and we talk about user experience, right? Yeah. You're going to have your early adopters, right? And those people will stick with you because they kind of want to be on the cutting edge of technology, at least in B2C, when you're doing consumer facing stuff. But, you don't want to lose the chance, right? You don't want to lose out on these customers, and you're going to lose some, right? But I think there's something to be said for a well-developed product before you go to market, right? And really, the problem there is you have to be that you have to have the funds to sustain you, right?
Mm-hmm.
To keep your idea off the market, because really what you're doing, right? And I think TikTok does this well, but we're not allowed to talk about Apple. So, so TikTok did it well, right? Is they came out with a business model that wasn't easily replicable,
Mhm.
right? Facebook is just now like 2 to 3 years, right? Trying to come out with something that's competitive. And what TikTok did was they kind of compounded their position, right? I mean, they've, and plus your feed is just so catered or curated for what you want. It's scary how good it is, right? But because their product was at a place where just the user experience, I mean, there was no early adopters. It was just, I mean, people just ran at it, man. It was like probably the fastest customer acquisition, like or customer adoption platform of any platform that we've seen in our lives, right? And we've been here for all of them, pretty much, right? I mean, maybe Napster doesn't count. I don't even know what the hell Napster was, but like, you know, we kind of got to see the MySpace in its kind of later years, but we got to see Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, a lot of these in their very nascent kind of era, right? Like we got to see them evolve, and it took them a long time, right? I mean, a long time generally. They were the first of their kind, but TikTok is just like, I mean, it was like within 2 years had like a crazy amount of users. Yeah. So kind of bringing it back, right, is there's something to be said for great product. And if you have the resources to create that great product, right, whatever it is, whether you're home services or you're, you know, creative in kind of manufacturing or making sure that your kind of value chain activities from end to end are coupled together, it's a good experience, it's seamless, right? Then, I mean, why is the customer going to go over to you, right? There's a great term, and I'll let y'all talk. Sorry, I've gotten this like a 5-minute monologue, but at least, there's this great kind of idea. It's called optionality, right? And ever since I learned it, it's my favorite buzzword. And kind of basically the thing of optionality is how do you lock your customer in? How do you reduce, or what you want to do is reduce optionality for your customer. Yeah. Right. So basically it's kind of like a sunken cost fallacy, right? Like I've put so much money into this already. I'm just going to keep pouring money into it because if I say you know, if I pull the plug on it, then I failed. Yeah. Right. Kind of the same thing, but with a user experience, right? So Uber, right? There's a cancellation fee, right? They make it really easy for you to get to Uber, makes it really tough for you to cancel the Uber, right? Yeah. So it reduces your optionality because you don't want to go through the friction experience, right? So those are times where, you know, we talk about a low friction experience. There are times to have a high friction experience, right? And you can do that as a creative by setting these barriers, right? And kind of with you know, like with the statements of work, right? And stuff like that, where you kind of lock your customer into this kind of this reoccurring I don't want to say revenue because they're not a lot of these companies aren't like this subscription based, but right, you're setting yourself up for the upsell, right? And you're making it really tough for them to not want to go with you from here on out. And I know that's a very ambiguous and very open way to say that because I'm sure there's a lot of tactics, right? And I'm not the person. I'm more of a strategic, thinker. Like I think very well tactically. But there are a lot of tactics, you know, and you can find these on, you know, these different marketing. That's a great thing about the internet, man, is your access to information is like, if you don't know something, screw you. That's such
you
my
didn't
nice
look hard
way.
enough.
Yeah, that's my nice way of saying that. So, because there is so much access to information to be better, right? It's not hard to be better. You just have to, right, be willing to ingest it and then find how it fits into your product.
Yeah. That's good.
But no. So y'all say something for a second. I'm going to grab a drink of water.
I know Jarrett has a lot to say, especially when it comes to the mindset as well.
Always.
I don't always
always the growth mindset.
Growth mindset. versus a fixed mindset.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah, I talked about it. Let's see. I'm trying
get
to
him to
I'm
shut
trying-
up, man.
I'm trying to not like
Yeah.
say driven things. But we talked
It's
about
good to say driven
we
things
talked
sometimes.
about we talked about growth mindset versus fixed mindset a couple episodes ago.
What does that mean to you though? Like what it? Just take a second. Like
Unpack that.
unpack that.
I mean,
That's a good podcast.
That's unpack that.
Give
Unpack
it.
that.
I'll stop you at 5 minutes. You got
No,
5 minutes.
I am not talking.
Okay, 4 minutes.
No.
Explain.
No, you should have a podcast called Unpack That. Anyways, growth mindset.
Maybe not.
Do you know how many topics we could talk about on that? We could unpack a lot of things.
Oh, and
That's
there it
definitely.
is.
If I start it, that's
Ignore
gonna be
it,
the name
everybody.
of it, for sure. Unpack that. You. Oh, geez. Yeah. Yep. All right. Go ahead. Can you please unpack that for us? Growth versus fixed.
Oh man.
Growth versus fixed. Let's go for it, Jarrett.
Well,
You get the floor.
no.
Let's just start with what to you, right? When you think about a fixed mindset,
Yeah.
what barriers does that create for a creative person?
I think that a fixed mindset for a creative person is somebody that wants to stay in a box. They don't want to expand their creativity. They like doing a lot of the same thing over and over again. They don't want to take risks.
Do you think there's something to be said for specialization? Right, like some people just
There is. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it like people that have to do the same projects over. Like,
oh geez, I'd kill myself.
Well,
you
I
know,
mean,
right? But there's some people that love doing that.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some people
Because
that
they
love
know
doing that.
what they need to do. Right, some people are just very regimented. Right, they
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
like to be able to come in and say bam, bam, bam. Right.
Yep.
Well, there's also a
That's
lot of
like-
fixed mindset
Yeah.
people.
That's the Church
like,
of Christ for you.
like the
I'm a Church of Christ member. I can say that, by the way.
Are
Sorry.
you a Church of Christ member? Anyways,
Yeah.
there's I think with growth mindset and fixed mindset, like a lot of employees usually generally have a fixed mindset
Yeah, I'd say that's
versus an
that's almost
employer
fair. Yeah.
most of the time has a growth mindset. Most of the
Yeah.
time, if things are in a perfect world,
Yeah, I think
everybody would have a growth mindset.
I think you're sorry.
No. I would definitely say it comes down to, like, in the church world, we call it the upline. I mean, it goes back to upline. How are you raising up your employees? Because are you allowing them to be in a fixed mindset, or are you allowing them to have the growth mindset?
I was literally
and-
gonna say pretty much kind of the same thing though. That you were saying, I'm not like you're like spot on, right? It's like it's so much. It's not just the employee, right? Because I don't know. I really this is kind of where I get like split mind, because I meet people and I agree with I'm on Jarrett's train, right?
Yeah.
There's some people just aren't ambitious about life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually, I have some people close to me in life that are just pretty like
well, it's like with a fixed mindset, people are like, well, I'm either good at it or I'm not. Like,
I don't think it's bad
very
to have
black
a fixed
and white.
mindset.
I think
we
fixed
have
mindset is very black.
we
and white.
have to have people that have fixed mindset. We can't have
Mhm.
people like I'd say societally, right? We can't have people. Everyone can't be ambitious,
Yeah.
right? Because, well, at least I love fixed mindset people. Right? I'm gonna
Mhm.
sound like freaking like Grant Cardone or Gary Vee right now, but like honestly, I
Your
love
two favorite people.
yeah, hate them. I love fixed mindset people because it makes it easier for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, even like the way society's going, right? Like this more like, just everyone wants this kind of more equitable experience,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm game for that,
Yeah.
right? Because people are like just so, well, with the way things are going, things are going to be handed to me, right?
Yeah.
And they will, and they
Yeah.
quite literally will. I mean, we
Yeah.
saw $20,000, $10,000 loan forgiveness, whatever it was,
Mhm.
right? It's literally going to be handed to you, which is great because that leaves such an opportunity for people that are ambitious,
Yeah.
right? To chase after. And we have to have people that can do, right? Because us ambitious people just like to talk. So,
Mhm.
Really?
yeah, at least our side of the other side like to do and do it well. But,
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it's just
Yeah.
it's kind of back to the other split mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there's the people, right, and then there's the organization, right, and finding an organization that I'm just
Go for it.
I've gone through it before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going through it, where you have a company, right, that if you're not invested in your people,
Yeah.
right, it's a zero sum game. It's a zero because you're going to have attrition, and it's going to end up costing you, right? It's an impact to your financials, to your P&L, right?
Yeah.
That if you don't invest in your people and don't invest in them the right way, not even take out the tangible stuff, right? Everyone loves good pay.
Yep.
I love one of my favorite quotes is, you don't leave a company, you don't leave bad companies, you leave bad managers, right?
Right.
The thing is companies hire those bad managers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're at a constraint for resource, a constraint for whatever, right?
Yep.
Et cetera. I don't know if you can say et cetera if you only name one example.
Close relationships, et cetera.
Yeah. Sorry. But et cetera. Anyways, so you hire these terrible managers, right?
Right.
That it's not their first language to pour into people, right?
Yeah.
And they don't see the upside in having in making the people under them better, right? They don't understand how the way of working, right, is going to be so much easier if I just put what I can into this person.
Yeah.
It makes your job easier to level someone else up, right? And if they
do you think there's an extreme opposite to that, though?
What do you mean?
Like an extreme opposite of pouring into somebody, but then almost over pouring. Like it's almost like flooding a plant. That's
kind of what I was thinking when it comes to a little bit of what we were talking about on the last episode as well, is like there's sometimes where people get told that they're so good at something, but if they were to transition into the real world, they would be not good at what they've been told that they're good at.
I think you guys like one of the biggest issues in the world.
So their head just gets blown up in a way of thinking they're the.
I don't know what we're laughing at right now,
good.
It was a really funny dynamic because I need to sneeze and I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But he was like scooting away, so I didn't sneeze all over him. But
I saw all over your face. But anyways, maybe you guys can help me out on trying to like
unpack that.
Is there's organizations that tell somebody and lift people up so much, which basically sets them up for failure if they were to go experience the real world.
That's easy fix, right? You have to pour into someone, but then you have to give them the opportunity to put it into practice, right? To enable them or put that into a situation, right? Because if you don't set objective around it, right? If you don't give them opportunity to act on whatever you're pouring into them, they never get to actualize it, right? They never get to see it for themselves. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like reading a book, right? Or like reading something and not really reading it. So I did this quote
a couple episodes ago, and it says, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it's pretty much the same thing.
Is that the OKR book?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I love OKRs.
Yeah, OKRs are fantastic. We're doing they don't know that yet, but we're doing OKRs in the studio.
Surprise.
But I'm all about it. I mean, I think that
go read the OKR book though. It's really good.
It is really good, but I think that there's one thing that, if anything, that will make a business completely fail. It's you can pour into people all day long. You can say all these great things. You can encourage people. You can do all of these things. But if you don't actually have goals to measure, to make sure that they're understanding, grasping, and growing, then growth will never happen and the business is going to crumble. Yeah. Because
you're wasting time, right?
You're 100%.
Because it takes a lot. I was talking to someone the other day, kind of one of my mentors. Not kind of, he is. And we were talking about, he goes, I have one-on-ones with my entire team, right? He's got a huge team. And he goes, it's really, it chews a lot of time. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. I was like, are you subtweeting me right now? You tell me to get off this call? I'm like, what are you trying to say right now? And he's like, no, I'm not talking about you. I was like, you can if you want. I'm going to keep taking your time up. But anyways, he was talking about, right, how much time he pours in, right? And time's your resource. Yeah. Time's the only thing that you're going to run out of, right? Mm-hmm. And unless you spend all your money because you're stupid. But anyways, time is so important. And he was talking about that. I was just kind of thinking, I was like, man, I really don't want to disappoint him, right? Because there was like, it's like he's willing to put his time into me. But he was saying, he's like, it's so important that, first of all, that we're kind of everyone's on the same page, right? And I think managers kind of lose sight of what their job is because, there's a really good dude, this old dude on TikTok. He's like some HR guy. He was like in HR forever. And he talks about this really well. It's like people really struggle with the shift to management because they don't shift their job, right? Like really as a manager, your job is to remove roadblocks for your team, right? Yeah. Is to kind of get them on the same foundation and then remove roadblocks. And that's really what he does. He's like, I'm here as the master roadblock mover.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think a lot of managers have the mentality that they have to do the same work that the employees are doing, but then also carry the weight of managing the employees.
Yeah. They're not okay with their work looking different, right? They're worried that because these conversations are just conversations, that it doesn't look like real work. Right. Yeah. And that's like, and then you can get on the other side of that, right? Like, are you doing any real work, or are you just meeting with people? Are you just talking all day? Yeah. Right.
Right.
So it's tough. Yeah. I actually don't think it'd be tough for me because I'm a talker and I love to I love pouring into people. I think it's so I think my parents were really good about it, setting foundations for just to constantly pour into me. Right. And like how can I, and I guess the good thing is we kind of measured it through my ability to have conversation. Was elevated, right? We didn't measure it as well, but you really should. Like even with your kids, I think like you should set your own metric, right? It doesn't have to be numbers, but set a metric for where you want your kid to be and kind of pour into them according to that. Right?
Yeah. Well, and that starts from the beginning. Like even as soon as, the kid starts to have that development, like being able to have that, like it's so crazy because by the time this podcast comes out, my sister will have had her kid. And it's so strange to me because she's always just been like my little sister, but now she's having a child, but she hasn't had it yet. It's supposed to happen like this week. But anyways, that's even one of the things that I was talking with Jake about is like there's all of these.
Jake's her husband.
Yeah, Jake is her husband. Is that there's all of these different things that like you get to start thinking about is like, okay, what are not that you have to structure everything. There doesn't have to be a system to parenting, although there is some great systems.
There are some systems.
There are some systems, but like everything that you do with your kid, and I think you might have told me this, but it's like I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah,
every single thing that you do with your kid has either a positive impact on it or a negative impact on it. But that's like every single thing that you do with your employee has a positive impact or a negative impact.
With every person. I'm a core believer, right? Yeah. That who you are and what you do, like the first 4 or 5 years of your life, like are this causal or causation type thing, right? This person treated me in this situation like this, and this kind of formed my my personality here, and this formed my person. So this is how I'm going to respond because either this is the attention that I liked, right, and I got a positive reinforcement out of it, or I got a negative reinforcement, and for some reason my daddy issues make me think that it's a positive. I don't have daddy issues. I'm just saying for people, right? But
love your dad. Your dad's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great.
He's gonna be on
both
here.
Both dads
for real.
Stepdad and dad. Just for clarification.
Yeah, that's true. And both moms. Both moms are funny. I don't know that.
Oh jeez.
I don't know about that one, but
but like I am just like a core believer that every situation. I honestly, it petrifies me.
About you having kids?
Oh my god, it scares the hell out of me.
I can't wait. It's
because like there's an excitement part to having kids, right? And this is not about creative stuff at all, but it's awesome. Honestly, this is like, think about this. This is crazy. Because it's funny too, because when you're younger, like your first few years, you don't remember how those things made you feel.
Yeah,
right.
Like I don't remember. I was 9/11 happened. I was 6. I don't really remember anything that was happening when 9/11 happened, except for the fact that I know I was at home and I was with my mom, and I like barely remember it. But all of that, like by the time I was 6, a lot of my personality and like the way that I was going to be was already defined. I wasn't acting it all out yet, but a lot of it was defined because of the experiences I had.
Yeah, one of my favorite stats is that you're during human development, your brain your brain grows more from age 1 or I guess 0 to I think 5 or 6 than it does the rest of your life. Yeah. Because there's so many connections being made. And that's like back to what I was saying, right? It's like you don't know a lot of the times why you act the way you do to the core, right? Because you, like I said, you get these experiences, these reinforcements when you're really, really young, and you don't really remember those reinforcements very well, right? Kind of like back to your 9/11 thing, right? And what you experienced there. But that's so core to who you are. I think that if you're pretty introspective, right? If you've got a healthy bit of like somatic introspection, right? Which is kind of like internal thought, which is what I could have said instead of using my big words. But, if you've got like a healthy internal thought, I think you can draw a line back to a lot of how and why you feel the way that you do.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, right, and not spend too much time in contemplation about it, I think that you can have healthier relationships, right?
Yeah.
You can manage people better. You can kind of guide them better. And it's difficult, right? It's difficult to be honest. Like one thing I'm super honest with about myself is I'm selfish as hell. You can talk for that, right? I'm selfish, right?
Yes,
like,
you are.
Like the experiences, and it's a terrible trait.
That's why
that
you
I have.
having kids is going to be real fun to watch.
Yeah, that's why I don't want them, because I'm too selfish, right? And my dad always gives me hell. He's like, "Yeah, but is it going to be a rewarding life?" I was like, "Shit, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I get to buy stuff for myself. Sounds rewarding for me, but then I think I'm like, okay, there's more than the fast car, the big house, the big life. Or is there?" Anyways, highly selfish, right? Like I know I'm a selfish person. I do a lot of things, but sometimes I've contemplated on that too much, and I forget. I'm also like, I have times that I'm a really good friend, right? Like there are things that I do, like I check in on people all the time, no matter, even though they never call. Like I'm always like, gosh, then I get back to like, is that just a selfish thing, right? Am I lonely, so I'm checking in on someone, right? So I can hear their voice, talk to them, do all that. Like, is that why I'm checking in on them, or am I checking in on them because I really care about how they're doing?
The second option.
And let me tell you, it's like, so like, that's it. Honestly, it's dangerous to be like really, really thoughtful about every single thing that you do.
Yeah.
Because it pushes you into this like phase of inaction, right?
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time, and I hate to use contemplator, right? Because I'm not really, I wouldn't call myself a contemplator, right? Technically I'm a mover, from, if you look at my life language thing, right?
Good stuff.
And I think that's what I am. But at the same time, right, there's overthought just pushes you into this place of inaction, because you're like, man, did they look at me like that? What's their perception, right? Does that perception mean that I'm screwed up? I'm the king of pulling the trigger on a text message and then going back and reading it. I'm like,
Probably shouldn't have sent that.
what if that part came across like, oh man, I sent a message to someone the other day and they read it and didn't reply, and I went through it, man. I was sitting there, I was like, reread it, and I was like, what's going on? Like this message, and then I was like, oh shoot, that's a terrible message. And then I reread it again. I was like, oh, that message was fine. Like, why didn't he still hasn't responded? So he's getting another text here soon.
It's not me, right?
No, that's family.
Oh.
No, I'm the worst about responding to you on text.
Or answering your phone. But
That
anyways.
is so BS. So BS.
No, it's not. Anyways, but so would you say that I had something really good I was going to say, and I don't remember what it is.
Sorry, I Dr. Phil'd y'all, so y'all got to fill in.
Yeah, we just went on such a rabbit trail. But
honestly, it goes back to like how you lead people too, though, right? Like if you're
that's what I was gonna say. I remember.
If you have inaction about leading people, right, and you're so worried about how people are going to view you, right?
Yeah.
Being able to own up to your mistakes and tell people, hey, I have a tendency to be selfish right here, so I need you to help keep me accountable.
Yeah,
that's
right.
So good.
The problem is nobody keeps anyone accountable. Even when you ask someone to keep someone accountable, they never do it.
Yeah.
And it's one of my biggest frustrations.
Follow through is a big deal.
Finding people that will keep you accountable, right?
Yep.
In business, in life, right? In spirit, like whatever it is so core. And I really like, I've got good friends. Like y'all are good friends, but I mean, even sometimes like y'all don't, hold me accountable to how I am. Sometimes y'all let me be a dickhead, and I should be able to be like, hey, I'm being a dickhead. But sometimes, you get caught up in your show. As you know, I like to put on a show. So,
you do love a good show.
But yeah, so it's that sounds so weird now that I think about it. See, that's me overthinking stuff. But no, it's like it's you have to have a feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not iterating who you are as a person, iteration's not just for product management; it's for you, right? It's for your soul. So
let's talk about feedback in the creative industry.
Yeah.
everybody views feedback as a direct attack or threat on them.
Yeah, as a criticism,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was a new word for that. Honestly, I wish you could it's like critical feedback. Even that you're like, oh, you need to be open to critical
Well,
feedback.
it's like,
you don't need to be so critical.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: you can be critical, in
Yeah,
a specific
absolutely.
scenario. But I think that a part of the issue in the creative industry is that a lot of people take feedback as a personal attack.
Because your hands have been on it.
Exactly, but it's like it's not
Yeah.
always a personal attack. It could be constructive.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that like even communicating thoughts or opinions or anything like that is automatically viewed as a personal attack for a lot of creatives.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's part of the fixed mindset mentality versus getting into that growth mindset is being able to take that feedback or take that conversation, take that and not
Absolutely.
assume that it's like just a direct attack on someone.
That's a good point. That really, I mean, that kind of that really cuts core to the fixed, right? Fixed versus growth.
Yeah.
It's funny how creative people are. Like, I remember being when I had my videos and stuff like that, and when I was doing it, it's like, man, given like, oh, you didn't like this? You didn't like this? Well, why don't you
Then
do
you
it?
do it.
Yeah, why don't you do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I stayed up all night on that. Why don't you go do it? I remember I got a good story. So we were doing the Father's Day video, and it was Creed, like with arms wide open, that one. Yeah. So I had to listen to Creed on After Effects, right? So when you use After Effects, if you don't know, you can only go like 5 keyframes, where 5 or 10 when I was using it, like 5 or 10 keyframes rendered out, right?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man. I just heard like with arms wide open like 100 million times, right? If I heard that song one more time, I was gonna go to Creed's house myself and like whatever his name is, and he was gonna be done. No more Creed.
Yeah.
And so I got this video done, right? It's like 3 minutes of listening to a track,
What was it?
With arms wide open. Yeah. So like you got this. So I'll just listen to it over and over again, right? And they come to me, they go, there needs to be commas. And I was like, commas? I was like, I'm missing commas right now. I was like, I'm listening. So you're going to make me go back through here and add commas, right? And so you had like big text going, right? It's all about the text fitting, right? Like if you move anything on After Effects, your whole thing, like just
You're redoing
Yeah. And I'm like, I got really, really frustrated over commas. I still don't know how to use commas today. So I just throw them in there whenever I'm like, this seems like a run-on sentence. Let's throw a comma in there. Yeah, comma. Or ellipses. I love the 3 dots. Yeah, I love them.
Those are good.
Oh, love them. So anyways, right? And they made me, go back and put those commas in there. And I was, oh my God, I was fired up.
Get fired up.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense. I mean, you need grammar. You need it to be grammatically correct.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, back to the part. Right? It's so easy, especially when you touch something, right? It's like, oh, that's not good enough, and that's a terrible way to go into a customer.
Well, I think a lot of
interaction.
creatives feel like, which I mean, it is, but anything that they do is a product of them.
Yeah.
So any
Yeah.
feedback that you have on
You're criticizing them. Yeah.
Right.
That's how
And-
they feel.
right, and I think that's where a lot of the creatives are at with their fixed mindset, is that there's a lot of things that like it's when you're especially when you're doing a project for a client, like a client is going to give you feedback because really it's their, at the end of the day, it's whatever they're wanting.
Yeah.
But just because you did the work doesn't mean that they see the vision the exact same way that you do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
And that's back to guiding the customer, right?
Yeah.
They don't know they know what they want. They don't know what they need.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with employees or working with a creative team, stuff like that, is that obviously they're creating a product for you. They're doing a job for you.
Yeah.
But if they don't do it exactly how it is supposed to be done, and you want it to be done a specific way, there's a couple different things. Either A, you didn't clearly communicate the vision, or B, they didn't receive the vision well and there's a communication gap somewhere.
All I'm hearing is everyone needs a Jenny in their life, and that's
Jenny is his mother.
Yeah, that's my mother, because
Lord.
she has the way that she wants it done,
And how she wants it done.
and that's it. There's
And
the
that
way
there's-
that she wants it done, and
then
there's no other way. Yeah.
The other ways that it's not that way.
Yeah. The good thing about that was growing up, though, is that she would step in and just do it. I'm like, oh, I guess it's not the way you want it done. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it was, so I grew up in a divorced parents' home, I think are all of us divorcees?
No, his
Kids?
parents aren't.
Oh, must be nice. Anyways, right? Like, I think what I learned the best is how to manipulate two parties against each other. I mean, it was so easy. I'm like, Dad. Actually, my dad didn't care. I was like, man, these shoes look awesome. He's like, yeah, well, they're $300, so you're not getting them, right? So naturally, I go to my mother and I'm like, Dad said you couldn't afford these shoes.
Oh, it's great.
And
I know exactly what her response was. It's just probably not allowed on
that response
public.
is not allowed on this podcast. But it was animated for sure.
It was animated and colorful.
So, it's I don't think that button beeps quick enough for me to really elaborate, but so I always thought I was going to grow up and be the perfect salesman.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a negotiator of, gosh, you know what helped me? We all went to a common church, and there was this kind of thing, right, where it was never the leader's fault. God,
you're doing good.
Yeah. So what you learned is it's really easy to pass blame onto someone else. It's crazy. It's so easy to do it.
Yeah.
And not take. So God, I thought I was gonna be the perfect salesman between church and my mother, between the divorcee parents and the church. I was like, man, I got this down. About to be the salesman of a lifetime.
Yeah.
I learned good things at church too.
That's good. I listen. I would do all of it over again if I had to. All the good, the bad, the ugly, the extra ugly.
Extra.
I would do it all over again.
Most of my experiences were good, right? Like most of the bad experiences I had were the stories from other people, right? Like most people treated me pretty well. Maybe because I'm an ass, right? Like it's like there was always going to be a response if there was something said. So whether that response meant anything, right? But I guess people just didn't want to deal with me. Yeah. So that worked out good, but I would agree with you. Like I learned some great leadership lessons. I
would say
I learned how manipulative marketing worked as well.
Oh, marketing!
Read this book, Undercover.
Wait, hold on. Where's it at? It's I swear it's around here.
It's in
somewhere.
the office.
It is in the office.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think we moved that one.
Yeah, we got that one out. I mean, you could do the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork, 15 invaluable laws of growth, 360-degree leader. That's a good one.
Anyways, that's 3 John C. Maxwell's.
Yeah. But you know what? A really good book is.
And I'll see you at the top.
You should read Predictably Irrational.
Yeah.
You would really like that.
It's actually really good.
You would really like that book.
Yeah.
That is predictably irrational. Take that predictably out, and I think that's my personality type.
No, but I think that going back to I don't know where I remember what I was going to talk about. I don't remember how it connected to what you just said, but oh yeah, I do. Okay, so we were talking about how everything with like the kid, like my sister having a baby and stuff like that.
Yep.
So everything has a positive or negative effect on it. I think that you have that phase when you hit, when you're just born and whatever. But then I think even like the business development side or your creative side, stuff like that, you have another range. I don't know what that range is, but I can remember going into the creative industry, like really going into it. Like I want to say it was probably 2012 when I really started getting into the creative industry, and that essentially could have been like the first 6 years right there were defining moments to where it was everything was either a positive impact or a negative impact on the way that I learned how to do things and create, like in the creative industry. Yeah. And I think, because that's when I started going to church, and that's when I started really getting plugged in and doing all of that stuff. And then I was able to branch out and start freelancing, stuff like that. But literally everything had an either positive impact on how I did stuff or it was a negative impact.
So we got to get back to what we were talking about. We've been talking about our family
fixed
woes
mindset and growth mindset the whole time.
Yeah, but back to growth, right?
Right.
Some companies aren't ready for growth.
Yeah, I think that it's still, like I was saying, it goes back to that fixed mindset. That graphic that I had, which it's gonna throw up. It's gonna go up on the
Fairly
screen.
godparents.
Yeah. But it says, so a growth mindset thinks failure is an opportunity to grow. A fixed mindset thinks failure is the limit of my abilities. That's good.
Can you say that again? I heard words. I'm sorry.
Growth mindset says failure is an opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Fixed mindset says failure is the limit of my abilities. So they don't think they'll ever be able to get better because they just don't have the ability to. Versus failure is the catapult for them to grow, which would be a growth mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say people. That's a good bit of them. That's like a portion of them. I'd say like probably 40-50%. The other 40 or 50% just aren't interested in doing anything.
Yeah.
Well,
Being
I think
comfortable.
It's the comfortable. It's
Well,
being
it's-
in your comfort zone. You don't grow until you step out of it.
Well, you also have to. I guess the other thing that you have to take into consideration is what does growth look like for each person, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about those kind of things that make you who you are, right? You know, for some of the people I know, the growth that they experienced in college was huge, right? Like
Yeah.
they went from
Yeah.
non-talkers that didn't know how to communicate well, that didn't know how to hold relationships well, and they came out and they figured it out. You know,
Yeah.
past college, right? People figure
Right.
this kind of stuff out. So growth looks different for a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? And then just some people are comfortable and don't want to do anything magnificent, right? They don't want to build anything. Well, my thing is like, what's the point of being here if your grand total of what you do is just nothing, right? You're
Right.
you know, it turns to a negative sum game, right? If you just took from the world, what was the point of you being here?
Yeah.
Like, and I try to like think about that's a very like privileged thing to say, right? Because I come from a place where it was easy for me to level up, right? But I mean, think about, I mean, you're kind of from a kind of crazy background situation,
Place
right?
that was not easy to level up.
Yeah, and you know, you're doing right now. You're in that process, right?
Yeah.
And I like to think about it like they think about teams, right? And I only know like 3 or 4 stages, but it's like you've got your forming, your storming, then your norming, right? What's the next one? Do you know? Can you Google it?
No.
Stages of team building, right? And it's kind of like that little bell curve going up. But
Ooh,
I kind of
forming, storming, norming, and performing.
yeah. So I kind of think that's kind of like your crawl, walk, run.
Yeah.
Through your life, right? Like you can kind of use that for anything, you know, and the storming doesn't necessarily have to be bad, right? That can be kind of your failure stage where you're learning and acquiring skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the part where, you know, some people back to comfort, right? Some people want to experience it and some people don't. And
So good. Well, that was
I'd say
part
that
2.
was a pretty good wrap for a part 2.
all right, part 3. I'm just kidding. The overeducation of America.
Nick, thank you for your knowledge and
I'll be
all
back
the
next week.
skills and
Actually, I will. Technically, my podcast before this is going to be the week. And then,
Unpack that.
yeah, I'm going to start my own podcast. It's called Unpack That.
Unpack that. We should go see if that tag.
You
is
know what we need to
available.
go unpack is some dinner.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, close us out, Sean.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just want to say thank you to Nick. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your experience and your knowledge and everything that has happened with your life. But yeah, so be sure to follow us. Hit that bell. I know we always say it, but be sure to follow us. Be sure to just give us the like, give us the comments and everything else. And so if you need to find us, go to brokecreatives.com.
And you know what? I'm going to just go out on a whim and say this.
Go
that
for it.
by the time this episode comes out, we will have a way for you to order the merch
Oh, man.
Don't buy it.
Just in time for Christmas.
that puts words into action right there. Anyways, it's going to be great. We're going to have some cool hats.
It's gonna
that
be
you'll
fun.
be able to order.
How
some
often
beanies.
does this podcast happen?
Every week.
Every Monday.
So it's okay. We got 2
A
weeks.
weekly podcast.
Anyways, it's going to be great. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Sign up for my bi-weekly podcast. That means every other week.
We'll
Not
have
twice
it
a
once it's all figured out, then he can come back on and tell you
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, thanks
But
for
anyways-
watching and
Boom.
See you
Thank you
later.
guys so much. We'll see you soon.